This is Evelyn Hart, 78, the woman who taught 3 generations to lace their shoes, to boil a chicken soup until the bones give up their last kindness, to speak softly when the house is tired. Tonight she sits at the far end of her own dining table while her children whisper at the other end, the way people whisper in museums as if the old things cannot hear. Michael drums 2 fingers against a folder. Linda slices the air with her hand, the way she does when bills come due. They think Evelyn is not listening. They think the hearing aids are off. The mind is a late winter garden. They say words like safety and supervision. They say evaluation, cognitive decline, better for everyone. They say nursing home, a place with a cheerful brochure, a place where smell is hidden beneath lemon polish, a place for the withering. Evelyn watches the steam fade from her tea. They sign papers without her. They tell each other only a few signatures left. The house that swallowed decades of light will be sold. The piano will be listed as antique. The jewelry appraised, the old letters boxed under the label sentimental. Her fingers tremble, but not from confusion. The tremor is memory, 1,000 mornings carrying a family on her back. The late nights counting every cent when the power bill looked mean. She has heard every syllable. She has been hearing for months. They call her confused, yet they forget she taught them the grammar of survival. The unfairness burns like a coal, but she keeps her face composed, Aqueen hiding her crown in her lap. What they do not know is that a date is circled in her calendar, blue ink, careful hand. What they do not know is that a letter exists and a voice, and a promise that sleeps like a sealed room in a quiet house. And what happens when that sealed door opens will make everyone at this table stop breathing. Have you ever watched someone get treated like furniture in their own home and wish the walls would speak up for them? Would you forgive, or would you fight? The Hart estate stands on the edge of town, a house built of brick and patience. Its walls carry the faint scent of varnish and lavender soap, the echo of children's laughter layered beneath decades of silence. Evelyn's late husband, Richard, had planted every oak around the property with his own hands, believing that roots kept families together. Now those trees rise tall outside the window, witnesses to the unraveling of that belief inside. The air is thick with polite betrayal. Family portraits line the hallway, faces once bound by holiday dinners and shared hardships. Yet under each smile lies a fracture that no one cared to mend. Michael, the eldest, had once clung to Evelyn's apron strings, begging her not to leave when he was afraid of the dark. Linda, always restless, had relied on Evelyn's stern love to push her through exams and heartbreaks. They were nurtured in the marrow of this house, but now they speak of care facilities and supervised living as if those roots never mattered. The living room has become a courtroom without robes. Piles of financial documents spread across the coffee table, their sharp edges slicing away the tenderness of family. The siblings exchange glances that carry calculation, not compassion. Every word they speak about Evelyn's well-being is coated in rehearsed concern, but beneath the surface, greed simmers like a pot left to loll on the stove. Evelyn sits quietly by the bay window, her cardigan buttoned high, her eyes tracing the trees that her husband planted. She knows this house, every creak, every echo, every place where dust hides in the corner. And she knows, more than anyone, that a storm is about to pass through these rooms, tearing down the illusions her children cling to. The date approaches, one written in blue ink, one they have overlooked. When it comes, no oak will bend low enough to shelter them from the truth that Evelyn has guarded with the patience of a lifetime. The pressure begins on a rainy Thursday. The sky leans heavy over the house, water streaming down the windows like a warning Evelyn alone can read. Michael arrives with a leather briefcase, his tie-to tight, his tone clipped with authority. Linda follows, carrying a folder embossed with the name of a nursing facility that promises comfort, safety, and 24-hour care. They place the papers on the table, sliding them toward Evelyn as if presenting her with mercy. Their voices soften, but only in the way a salesman softens his voice before closing the deal. It's for your own good, Michael insists, his eyes skimming the room, avoiding hers. You'll be safe, cared for, surrounded by professionals. Linda nods, rehearsed sympathy stretching across her lips, You won't have to worry about bills or cooking or loneliness. You'll have everything you need. But Evelyn hears what they do not say. She hears the unspoken, "We want the house. We want control. We want the inheritance before time gives it to us." Their words are bandaged wounds that hide infection. Her hands hover over the pen they place in front of her. For a moment, the room holds its breath. The rain taps the glass like a metronome, counting down the seconds of her silence. Evelyn lifts her eyes, fragile yet sharp, and studies the children she once carried through fever nights and fed with her own hunger. They look like strangers sculpted by greed. "I'll think about it," she says at last, her voice calm but edged with iron. Michael and Linda exchange a glance, mistaking her restraint for weakness. They leave the papers there, certain the old woman will sign them out of confusion or fatigue. But Evelyn is not confused. She has been waiting for the day when masks slip, when their hunger shows, so that the truth she has guarded will cut deeper when it finally arrives. The house creaks in the night, and with each sound Evelyn's memory unravels like an old spool of thread. She remembers the years when her body was young and her hands raw from scrubbing floors, when every dollar was stretched until it snapped. Richard, her late husband, was a man of quiet strength, a builder of both walls and legacy. Together they built this home brick by brick, hour by hour, sacrifice upon sacrifice. Evelyn can still see herself standing in the kitchen at dawn, apron dusted with flour, eyes heavy from sleepless nights, while little Michael cried in his crib and Linda tugged at her skirt. She remembers the storms that flooded the roof, the sickness that drained their savings, the winter when she pawned her wedding brooch just to keep the lights on. Through it all, she smiled, because that was what mothers did. She gave without asking, believed without doubting, carried without complaint. And how easily they forgot. When Richard fell ill, Evelyn was the one who nursed him, day after day, never once asking for help. Michael and Linda visited only on holidays, bringing flowers and impatient smiles. When Richard finally passed, Evelyn buried not only her husband, but also the last of her illusions that children always repay, love with loyalty. After his funeral, she overheard their whispers, voices curling through doorways like smoke. What will happen to the estate? Does she even know how to manage all this? She's too old to be in charge. Words that stung sharper than grief. Words that revealed what they truly valued. For years she has watched their respect erode, replaced by pity laced with greed. They smile at her in public but dismiss her in private, treating her like fragile glass ready to shatter. Each small slight has stacked upon the last, a tower of injustices reaching high into the sky. Yet Evelyn never forgot Richard's final words, whispered with his last strength, "Do not let them take from you what you bled to build. Protect what is ours. Protect yourself." Those words have guided her hand in secret. She has prepared carefully, quietly, knowing this day would come. The injustice may have piled up, but so has her resolve. And when the moment arrives, her children will realize the foundation of their greed rests on sand, not stone. The morning of the will reading arrives with a stillness that feels unnatural, as though even the wind waits to witness what is about to unfold. Evelyn sits in the back seat of a black sedan, her cardigan neatly buttoned, her eyes hidden behind dark glasses. Michael drives ahead in his own car, restless fingers tapping the wheel, while Linda adjusts her pearl necklace, rehearsing the expression of grief that will seem appropriate for the occasion. The law office smells faintly of leather and paper, the kind of place where fortunes shift hands in the turn of a page. The siblings walk in with expectation blooming in their chests. They imagine houses, bank accounts, antiques, everything being portioned to them like slices of cake at a celebration. They whisper to each other in the lobby, their words sharp with greed, confident that today is the beginning of their freedom from debt, from effort, from work. Evelyn walks slowly behind them, a small figure with steady steps. They hardly notice her presence, already treating her as a relic, an object soon to be filed away in a nursing home. The attorney, Mr. Carver, clears his throat as the family gathers in the oak-paneled room. His glasses catch the light as he opens a folder marked Last Will and Testament of Richard and Evelyn Hart. Michael leans forward, hungry for confirmation of his assumptions. Linda smooths her skirt, her heart racing with anticipation. But then Mr. Carver's voice slices the silence. This will was revised, he says, his tone firm, and it reflects decisions made by Mrs. Evelyn Hart herself in full command of her faculties. Michael shifts uncomfortably. Linda frowns. They glance at each other, confusion creeping into their practiced smiles. Evelyn folds her hands in her lap, her face calm, her eyes unreadable. Mr. Carver continues, each word dropping like a hammer. The estate, including the house, the investments, and the family trust remains under the control of Evelyn Hart. She alone retains authority to distribute or revoke inheritance as she sees fit. The air collapses. Michael's mouth opens, but no sound comes. Linda's pearls tremble at her throat. They had expected signatures of surrender, but instead they hear the sound of doors locking against them. Evelyn finally speaks, her voice soft but carrying like a bell. You thought I could not hear you. You thought I could not think. But I have been listening, and I have been deciding. This legacy is not yours to seize. It is mine to protect. The children stare, stripped of their certainty. The ground beneath them has shifted, and for the first time in years, Evelyn stands taller than their ambition. The room holds its breath. The walls, lined with law books, seem to lean closer, eager witnesses to the unraveling. Michael's knuckles whiten against the armrest of his chair, and Linda's painted smile has vanished. Replaced by disbelief, Mr. Carver adjusts his glasses and continues, his voice steady as a judge's gavel. Furthermore, Mrs. Hart has exercised her right to designate a successor trustee. The assets of the Hart estate will not pass automatically to the children. Instead, they will be entrusted to the individual Evelyn has chosen, someone she deems worthy of safeguarding the family's future. The words land like thunder. Michael jolts upright. What? That's absurd. She's not capable of making these decisions. His voice cracks under the weight of desperation. Linda adds, Mother, please, you can't mean this. We're your children. Who else could it be? Evelyn slowly removes her glasses, her eyes clear and steady, sharper than either of them remembered. She leans forward, her hands folded, her voice quiet but commanding, a voice that silences even their protests. I have watched you measure my worth in square footage and bank statements. I have seen you whisper about my mind as though I were deaf, discuss my life as though I were already gone. You forgot who built this house, who held you when fevers burned, who sacrificed everything so you could have a future. You do not inherit love by default. You must honor it, and you have not. She turns to Mr. Carver and nods once. He clears his throat, reading the final line with deliberate weight. The sole heir named in this will is Sarah Whitfield, Evelyn's granddaughter. The silence detonates. Sarah, Evelyn's only grandchild, steps hesitantly into the room. A young woman in her 20s, quiet, often overlooked by her parents, she looks stunned as all eyes fall on her. Evelyn's gaze softens for the first time that morning. Sarah, Evelyn says gently, you are the one who visits not for what I can give, but for who I am. You bring me tea, you read me books, you ask me stories of the past. You remembered me when they forgot, and so the future is yours to guard. Michael stammers, this is betrayal. Linda shakes her head, fury flashing in her eyes, but Evelyn sits straighter, her voice cutting through their outrage like steel. No, this is justice. You wanted to put me in a home, to strip me of dignity, but today you will see me, not as a burden, but as the woman who decides. For the first time in decades, Evelyn is not only heard, she is obeyed. The air inside the oak-paneled office is heavy, thick with silence and the sting of pride collapsing. Michael sinks back into his chair, his jaw tight, his eyes darting as though searching for a loophole hidden between the lines of the will. Linda's hands tremble against the folder in her lap, her carefully polished nails clicking nervously against the cardboard. Mr. Carver closes the document with a solemn finality, the sound echoing like a verdict. The decision is binding. He says, Evelyn Hart retains full authority, and her designation of Sarah Whitfield as heir is legally sound. Michael bursts out, his voice rising like a child denied a toy. This isn't fair. We're her blood, her children. But his protest falls flat, a hollow cry that even Linda does not echo. For beneath her anger, there is a creeping recognition the fight is lost. Evelyn straightens her back, her frailty gone, replaced by the poise of a queen reclaiming her throne. Blood alone does not entitle you to respect, she says, her tone measured, unshaken. For years you dismissed me, silenced me, planned my exile while I was still alive. Today, you discover that I am not a relic to be tucked away, but the keeper of this family's legacy. Sarah, still standing by the door, looks at her grandmother with awe, tears brimming in her eyes. Evelyn reaches out a hand, and the young woman takes it, their fingers locking across generations like a bridge built from love. Linda's shoulders sag, her pearls no longer a crown of superiority, but a chain of shame. Michael looks down, defeated, the fire of his greed extinguished in the face of Evelyn's unshakable will. They had come expecting to claim her life as property, but instead they are forced to confront the truth. They had underestimated not only her mind, but her strength. For the first time in years, Evelyn breathes freely. She has defended not just her estate, but her dignity, her voice, her place in the world. And in that moment, she is not a frail old woman to be hidden away. She is Evelyn Hart, the matriarch, the survivor, the final word. The house, once a battlefield, becomes a sanctuary again. It no longer feels like a place waiting to be sold, but like a legacy alive in the present. The town whispers of the twist at the Hart family's will. Reading. Some shake their heads at Michael and Linda's greed, others smile at Evelyn's resolve. But in every retelling, one truth emerges: dignity does not age and respect cannot be stolen. And as Sarah walks arm in arm with her grandmother beneath the old oaks, Evelyn feels something she has not felt in years. She feels seen. She feels whole. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that dignity has no age and love cannot be measured in money, then don't let Evelyn's voice fade when the screen goes dark. Share this video so others can see that respect for our elders is not just a duty, but a legacy. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Would you have forgiven Michael and Linda, or turned your back on them forever? And if you want more stories like this, stories of resilience, hidden strength, and twists that reveal the truth of the human heart, then make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more tales that inspire, provoke, and remind us all of what really matters. Because in the end, everyone has a story, and sometimes the ones we overlook hold the most powerful endings.